What's going on, Mail Gangs? Boaz
and Isaias. When it comes to the most common airsoft primary, it's got to be, what is it, Boaz?
M4 AEG.
That's right. But what about sidearms? What exactly would we consider the most mayo of options? Hi-Capas. Definitely got to be Hi-Capa.
100%. If running an M4 AEG is mayo, running an Airsoft Hi-Capa like this, I mean, that's like double mayo.
That's super
you know?
mayo.
Yeah. Giga mayo. You know, but there are a lot of hidden gems we believe that we have at airsoftgi.com that are not only good performing, but also well supported actually as well. That is not Hi-Capa. But actually, I did include a couple Hi-Capas in there,
what? Dude, come on, are you serious?
Well, yeah, I mean, come on, it's an airsoft video. You have to have a Hi-Capa or an M4 in it, you gotta.
You know what? Whatever, just roll with it.
Come on, it'll be fine.
The first set of airsoft pistols that I feel are severely slept on in airsoft are going to be the Kizuna Works gas blowback set of airsoft pistols that includes the MKW and KW15. So what exactly are we looking at here? The Kizuna Works airsoft pistols are based off the Lebedev pistol, which is going to be manufactured by Kalashnikov, which is actually very, very cool to know because there hasn't really been any sort of new modern airsoft sidearm for Eastern Bloc kits until now. Typically, what you would normally find guys running would be the old Tokarov pistols or the old Makarovs, which are fine, they get the job done, but there hasn't really been any modern offerings until now. As of right now, Kizuna Works offers two size variations with multiple colorways for each. First, we have the full-size MKW and the more compact KW15. Now, first and foremost, let's get into the full-size MKW. Getting into the MKW, we have a full metal slide in addition to a polymer frame, just like the real thing. You are going to be getting a lower accessory rail on the frame, so you can add whatever sort of accessories you'd like, whether it be a flashlight, laser, or a vertical grip if you're that guy. You do get an ambi safety in addition to an ambi slide release, which is very, very nice, very convenient, and a very enlarged magazine release. Seriously, you cannot miss this thing. And of course, on top of the slide itself, you have your suppressor height sights. 3-dot gets the job done. One of my favorite things about the MKW has got to be the way it feels in the hands. Not only does it feel very nicely put together, very well built, very high quality, it feels super comfortable. I have never held a airsoft pistol that felt as comfortable as the MKW. It's really bizarre how they did it. I don't know what they're doing, but it's working. The grip texture that you get on here, while it is not a super aggressive stipple job, it does feel very nice. It doesn't feel like it's gonna slip away at all. And of course, the suppressor height sights are absolutely amazing. I do love that they are becoming more and more standardized. Yes, it is going to make it a lot easier once you slap on a mock suppressor. It's gonna be a lot easier to get a better sight picture, but I like that it's becoming more and more of a standardized thing because now a lot easier just to ADS even without a mock suppressor. Now let's get into the guts of the MKW. Now I know a lot of you might be asking yourself, what sort of system is it using? What type of mags could it be running? Is it like a CZ? Could it potentially take G-series style parts? Unfortunately, that is not going to be the case. The MKW and KW15 are going to be a proprietary system. Now hold your horses before you start booing me off the stage. Let me cook. While it is going to be using a proprietary system, I know that's kind of a no-no word in airsoft, it is still going to be a very, very solid system that actually is supported by Kizuna Works. Thankfully, Kizuna Works has released OEM replacement parts and components readily available, so you don't have to worry at all about any sort of like issues you might be encountering later on down the future, especially if you're running this bad boy really, really hard. And of course, upgrades are still going to be available in regards to your inner barrel and your bucking. That's going to be a pretty standard. However, you won't really feel the need to go that route considering how well these perform right out the box. It makes me so happy to see that we finally have a modern Russian Eastern Bloc sidearm offering available to a lot of AK users that's going to be a lot more supported compared to the old Tokarev or Makarov series because those weren't really supported almost at all. This is going to be a really well-designed system that's going to perform very great out the box, feels very snappy, and still be incredibly supported by Kizuna Works with all the replacement parts you need. The next Kizuna Works airsoft pistol we're going to be covering is going to be the little brother for the MKW. That is going to be the KW15. Now this is going to be essentially the same as the MKW, but just in a more small, compact package. You are still going to be getting that really solid metal slide with the polymer lower. You get a nice lower accessory rail for an accessory of your choosing. You do get the ambi safety. It is making a return, of course. However, not making a comeback is going to be the ambidextrous slide release. A little bit sad to see, but you still get the enlarged mag release and no suppressor height sights, just standard sights on this bad boy. Some of my favorite things about the KW15 airsoft pistol, of course, has got to be the grip itself. Just like with the MKW, it feels strangely, amazingly comfortable in the hands, even though this is a more compact variation. I also like that you do get a little bit of a finger cutout for the magazine itself, so it's a lot easier to grip it when you hit that mag release to get a nice solid grip on the mag, and that makes sure you're not dropping it whatsoever. I still like the fact that the enlarged mag release itself is making a return as well. The metal slide feels nice, but the biggest things I don't like about the KW15 has got to be the lack of the suppressor height sights. I'm not too sure what the reason was for not including those. It feels like a missed opportunity. Same thing for the ambidextrous slide release as well. Now maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they wanted to have a more compact variation. It was a little bit more difficult to kind of streamline all of that into one nice solid design, but who knows at this point. Looking at the internals for the KW15, this is going to be sharing essentially the same DNA as the full-size MKW. In fact, one interesting thing to note is that if you remove the stock OEM magazine, you can take an MKW mag and it'll fit nice and snug inside as well. Again, just giving you a little bit extra ammo. This will not work, of course, the other way around, as of course the magazine that you get for the KW15 is just too small for the MKW, but still good to know, especially if you wanted to have just a little bit more ammo on you. But again, just like the MKW, pretty much the feel of the airsoft pistol itself when firing feels the exact same. You are still getting the same snappy trigger response. You are still getting the same satisfying blowback. And again, it is nice to know that it is another platform that Kizuna Works is supporting with more and more OEM replacement parts readily available. For those that were considering running either the KW15 or MKW Kizuna Works airsoft pistol as their sidearm, you might be wondering, what sort of holsters am I able to use for this? As of right now in airsoft, there are no specifically designated holsters for either of these platforms, unfortunately. However, you still have options. The universal cloth style holsters are going to be readily available and again can be adjusted to the sizes of each of these platforms. And of course, if you wanted something a little bit cooler, brands like Ammo Max do make multi-fit hard shell holsters, which are an absolute godsend. All in all, I am ecstatic that these airsoft models have been released. I think Kizuna Works did an absolute bang-up job with both the MKW and the KW15, and especially knowing that, again, replacement parts, OEM components are readily available for this in addition to magazines. I think that is a recipe for success, and I think in due time, people will start appreciating these models more and more.
Now this seems a little counterintuitive because the next airsoft pistol that we believe are really good and have been slept on is going to be of a Hi-Capa variant. This one specifically is from Vorsk. And yes, a lot of different companies and manufacturers have been making Hi-Capas for a very long time that have been around for a while. So what makes Vorsk so different? What makes them so slept on? So we'll get into that right now. Not only do many manufacturers make airsoft Hi-Capas, but Vorsk themselves make a ton of different Hi-Capa variants as well. But out of the myriad of Hi-Capas that exist out there from Vorsk, I specifically decided to choose the Vorsk Hi-Capa 3.8X with red dot sight as our choice of airsoft pistol today. Starting out, you do have a very nice full metal, aggressively ported slide, which looks absolutely killer. It comes with a nice fluted, kind of in a spiral pattern, outer barrel, and it does come included 14mm counterclockwise barrel threading, a full metal frame, so it's nice and hefty in the hands, and a polymer grip module. Now, aside from that, everything else is going to be pretty standard as for an airsoft Hi-Capa, so you're going to have your standard beaver tail safety, your ambidextrous thumb safety, and this time an extended slide release. Some of my favorite features about this Hi-Capa is that it comes included out of the box with 3-dot fiber optic suppressor height sights. Geez, what a mouthful. But suppressor height sights are really fantastic because it just helps you get your sight picture way faster compared to traditional iron sights. And even with an optic mounted onto this bad boy, you're still able to get a clear sight picture, no problem. And the 3-dot fiber optics, it just makes it that much faster, that much easier to acquire. Also, this does come included with an extended mag well, so it just makes reloads that much quicker, that much faster as well. And I love their skeletonized trigger. It just looks very aggressive. But my favorite part about this Hi-Capa is that it comes out of the box with a micro red dot sight ready to go. I mean, how many airsoft pistols come included with an optic that you can actually use out of the box? I think that's super crazy. It's just so much more convenient to have one on your airsoft pistol, it just makes sending BBs downrange that much more convenient, and it looks super cool. One of my biggest gripes about the Vorsk Hi-Capa is that there are just so many Vorsk Hi-Capas just out there. There's so many different variations, lengths, sizes, like colorways, different slide cuts. It just really makes narrowing down to get the Hi-Capa that you want that much harder. I just wish that Vorsk kind of just narrowed it down to like a few options and then slowly grew their collection from there. But hey, I mean, if you're looking for something very specific, Vorsk probably might have it. Another thing that I don't really like about this Hi-Capa is that the grip, even though it has an interesting texture to it, I just wish it was a little bit more aggressive. Personally, if I were to own a Vorsk Hi-Capa like this, I would just make custom stippling on my own because I like aggressive textures on my airsoft pistols. But other than that, I don't really have much else to complain about. Now let's talk about the performance of the Vorsk Hi-Capas. Well, quite honestly, there's not really much special to write home about. It performs exactly like the myriad of other great Tokyo Marui clone Hi-Capas out there. In fact, the DNA of this thing is going to be built off of the Tokyo Marui Hi-Capa platform. So with that being said, you could upgrade this bad boy to the 9s if you wanted to. Not that I personally would, but if you wanted to, you definitely can, and that option is available to you. Another great thing about Vorsk is that not only do they support their platforms with OEM replacement parts, they include replacement parts out of the box as well, which goes without saying for pretty much every single gas blowback pistol replica that they release, you can almost guarantee that it will come with replacement parts to boot. One thing that I want to point out, if you decide to pick up a Vorsk Hi-Capa with a red dot included and attached to it, you will notice that the slide will cycle a little bit slower. And that's just because you are adding weight to the slide, and so because of that, the cycle action is going to be a little slow. Not to the point where you're going to encounter any performance issues, but you'll just notice that it's just not going to be as snappy as a Hi-Capa that does not have any optics attached to it. That's just the nature of the beast, but for me personally, I'll happily trade that slide cycle action if it means I get a cool red dot that I can quickly aim down sight with. When Vorsk first hit the US airsoft market and released a bunch of their airsoft pistols, I think a lot of airsoft players didn't really give Vorsk much of a second glance because at face value, they just look like another Hi-Capa released by another brand. But I'm continually blown away with how much value Vorsk is providing for you out of the box. Like I mentioned countless times earlier, they come with replacement parts out of the box. So if anything breaks, you don't need to go out and look for it and buy replacement parts for your Hi-Capa. They're already there in the box that you could just readily replace on the field if you wanted to. And not only that, they come with tons of goodies. I'm always surprised at the fact that they will give you an airsoft pistol with a red dot that is good and functional that you can just use right out of the box. Or sometimes they'll give you spare magazines, or sometimes even things like a mock suppressor that you can easily thread on to your airsoft pistol. And because of that, I think that it's really, really slept on because I'm not sure how many airsoft players know how much you're getting out of the box with a Vorsk airsoft pistol. So if you're an airsoft player who's looking to get another low maintenance airsoft pistol to their collection, or if it's your first time and you're looking for an airsoft sidearm to get into, I would highly recommend to give Vorsk a second look.
The next group of airsoft pistols we're going to be covering is going to be the Poseidon CSI airsoft pistols. That will include the XG8 and the Orion series. Now, just like the Kizuna works, there's going to be a ton of colorways and variations available for these models. But first, let's talk about the Orion. Getting into the CSI Orion airsoft pistol, you're getting a high-impact polymer construction slide in addition to a high-impact construction frame as well. Nice little aggressive stippling texturization going on the grip in addition to the lower Picatinny rail here as well. You get your traditional slide release in addition to an enlarged mag release, which is very, very cool to see. Fiber front sights adorn the slide in addition to this nicely designed, very uniquely shaped ghost ring style sight that you have in the rear as well. All right, now we're moving on to the things I like about the Orion airsoft pistol. Now, as you guys might have guessed, this is a TMG series clone, right? So it's gonna be pretty obvious what it is. However, with that being said, I much prefer the grip that you get on here compared to the original G series design. I do love the aggressive stipulization that you get on the grip. It feels solid. It's not gonna be slipping out of your hands, even if you're super sweaty like I am, of course. You are gonna be getting, again, this is a very, very slept on feature. When you actually get a Picatinny accessory rail, I love that. Again, this is so much more convenient compared to the G series or the G style accessory rail. Just a lot easier to have to deal with. I actually do like that it is going to be sporting a mostly durable polymer construction. Now, I know a lot of you guys might be, kind of cringing a little bit at that, right? Considering it's not using a full metal slide. However, there is going to be one major benefit with using a polymer construction, and that is going to be weight reduction. This bad boy is going to be incredibly lightweight. It's not going to require a ton of gas in order to cycle back and forth. It shoots so snappy and fast, and I say fast for a very specific reason, because the Orion has a capacity to shoot full auto. Now let's talk about all the things I don't like about the CSI Orion Airsoft pistol. Number one is going to be no ambi slide release. Again, you had the ability to do so on a very nicely assembled Airsoft pistol. I'm not too sure why it wasn't included anyway. It just feels like a feature that would have been really nice to have. Then again, the original G series doesn't have it either, so I guess I can't fault it too much for that. However, the one thing I can fault it for is going to be the optics plate. Now, when you initially see this on our website or in person, you're gonna immediately think, yes, absolutely, I'll be able to mount my favorite RMR on here, no problem. Unfortunately, you won't be able to do so, at least not right out of the box, which is very, very sad to see. It's not all bad news, however. Thankfully, Poseidon does have the optics plate sold separately. You are able to get that on airsoftgi.com, and it's a very good optics plate. It has the majority of the most popular footprints you would need to mount the optic of your choosing on there. However, my question is, and this is the reason why this pistol gets docked points, is why did you just include it, Poseidon? Seriously, you had the ability to just put it in the box. You couldn't have included it at all. Seriously, what's going on? Now let's get into the internals for the Orion gas blowback airsoft pistol. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a TMG series. You should know that this system is widely popular everywhere. We are going to carry a ton of aftermarket components. Everything that we're going to carry should be compatible for the CSI Poseidon Orion airsoft pistol, with the exception, of course, of the selector, which is going to be behind the blowback housing unit. When shooting the CSI Poseidon Orion gas blowback airsoft pistol on semi, it is snappy. On full auto, it is ludicrously fast. This is in large part due to the polymer construction you get out of this bad boy. In terms of its efficiency though, it's okay. This is, again, mostly due to the G series style magazines being okay in terms of their gas efficiency. You should still be able to get a mag and a half worth of shots before you need to refill on green gas. Now, in terms of range and accuracy, this is exactly in line with the majority of gas blowback airsoft pistols that are available on the market. It does exactly what it needs to do. It's not going to be a detriment in terms of its performance at all. Moving on from the CSI Orion, we're going to be talking about my personal favorite from the CSI lineup. It's going to be the CSI XG8. Look at this thing. Doesn't this thing absolutely make you want to do some dirty work for the RSOC Foundation? Very cyberpunk. When comparing the XG8 to the previously mentioned CSI Orion pistol, they're going to be using the exact same design with one major key difference, and that is going to be the slide itself. Now, if you'll notice on the XG8, it is going to be using a split slide design. Only the rear half of the slide is actually in motion when cycling, versus the front half, which is going to be completely static. This is going to help keep these sights in place. They're not going to be jumping around like crazy every time you're pulling that trigger, getting some shots in, and it helps maintain staying on target as well. As again, like I previously mentioned, they're not moving around. In terms of things I don't like about the XG8, it's going to be the same thing as with the CSI Orion. It's going to be the optics plate on here. Again, the fact that you have to get an aftermarket optics plate in order to mount your favorite RMR on there just seems a bit inconvenient in my personal opinion. Though if I'm being honest, I don't really dock it too many points, considering with the XG8, I would actually run it completely stock. When you add the RMR to the XG8, it is going to add a lot more weight, which is kind of counterintuitive to the design of the XG8. It was meant to reduce weight and be fast, especially on full auto. So once you go ahead and start adding some stuff on there, you'll notice the full auto will just start slowing down. For me, I think it looks cool. The iron sights are actually really, really nice, and I would actually prefer to run it as is. It's just more of a vibe too, you know what I mean? All in all, the Poseidon CSI lineup is a great choice for many airsoft players. I personally love the fact that there is going to just be a plethora of aftermarket components readily available for both of these options, so you can customize these to the absolute nines of your choice. My personal favorite though is still got to be the XG8. I just love the split slide design. I think for the name of going fast, this thing absolutely does the trick, and just the white colorway, this specific version, is an absolute beauty to look at. It just screams cyberpunk. I absolutely want to do a cyberpunk loadout now with this. Actually, wait a minute. Hey Boaz, cyberpunk loadout, you want to do it with me? Come on, let's do it. The next airsoft pistol I'm going to be talking about is going to be the Lancer Tactical Heracles. You guys saw it coming. What sort of airsoft pistol list would be complete without more Hi-Capas? Let's get into it. The Heracles is Lancer Tactical's newest offering to the Hi-Capa scene, and honestly, it kind of has everything that a player would want from a modern Hi-Capa. Everything from the aggressively designed slide, suppressor height sights, very nice. You do get a pre-threaded externally outer barrel on here, which is very, very nice to see. Lower accessory rail and a nice extended mag release, and this flared but still subdued magwell for faster reloads. And of course, the elephant in the room. It is going to come included pre-installed with the RMR right out of the box. Let's get into some of the things I like about the Lancer Tactical Heracles gas blowback airsoft pistol. Number one is going to be the suppressor height sights. Now, like I mentioned in previous models that we talked about, I love that they are included. Makes life so much simpler. And again, it's a lot easier to ADS as well. But let's be real for a second. You're not going to use those at all. You're going to use the included RMR out of the box. And that, honestly, it's a very, very usable, very high quality optic that you get. And the fact that it already comes pre-installed is very nice as well. Third reason why I love this bad boy is going to be the threaded outer barrel. It's going to be 14 millimeters counterclockwise, externally threaded outer barrel, which makes life so much more simpler. There are countless Hi-Capa models that exist out there where you have to find an aftermarket outer barrel that is threaded, or you have to find the right adapter. No, not with this one, not here. It's going to be already pre-threaded, slap on your favorite trace unit or mock suppressor, and you're done. The last one, a little bit of a tiny thing, but I still appreciate it, is going to be a handwritten quality control slip, meaning someone tested each and every single one of these models to make sure that they were working and up to snuff for you and for your purposes, which again, a nice little bit of reassurance that you get. Let's dive into the internals for the Heracles. What exactly can I say that isn't been said before? It is going to be a Tokyo Marui Hi-Capa clone. It's going to shoot and perform exactly like a high-quality Tokyo Marui Hi-Capa clone should. In terms of its magazine, the mag you get out the box is of good quality. You are still able to find a plethora of magazines that exist out there for this, and that also goes for its internal components. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a TM Hi-Capa clone. There are a ton of aftermarket components, accessories, and internal components that you can get for this bad boy. The sky is the absolute limit for this platform. In regards to my personal shooting experience with the Heracles, I was pleasantly surprised. This shoots so very smoothly. Even with the inclusion of the RMR on here, it wasn't very clunky at all. Ordinarily, a lot of Hi-Capas and pistols, when you start adding optics on there, it is really going to negatively impede the slide action and the speed, and thankfully that wasn't really so much the case here, so good on you, Lancer Tactical. However, in regards to its efficiency, range, and accuracy, and all other performance aspects, it is pretty much about average. In terms of its efficiency, you're getting about a mag and a half to about 2 megs worth of shots before you need to refill with green gas or swap the magazine out. And range and accuracy, like I said, it's about average. This stacks up against the competition very well. It doesn't stand up above the rest by a huge margin, but it also is not any worse than a lot of the other models that exist out there. It stands up against the competition and it does it well. All in all, the Lancer Tactical Heracles is a great option for pretty much any type of player. Whether you're a first-time airsoft, you're trying to get into the platform, there's going to be a great option considering it has everything that you would ever want for the platform, or you're already a seasoned veteran and you're just trying to add to your Hi-Capa collection. God knows how many you actually have at this point, but anyone can truly appreciate the design that is the Lancer Tactical Heracles.
The final airsoft pistol that has really been overlooked and I believe is going to be up and coming in the near future is going to be the Elite Force or SIG Air M17, M18, or the larger, what we call here at Airsoft GI, the P320 platform. So why don't we talk about it for a little bit? In front of me here is going to be the bog standard SIG Air Proforce M17 gas blowback pistol. This is, according to Sauer, is going to be a true 1-to-1 size replica of course, the real thing. So you could expect a full high quality build from SIG Air, including the nice logoed metal slide and with the polymer frame. Zooming out to the bigger picture, I'm just going to be talking about the P320 platform as a whole. And some of my favorite things about that is, number one, is going to be that they come optics ready out of the box. So if you look here towards the rear sight, there is that nice little black piece that you can remove to put on an optic mount and also put on your optic. Now, SIG Air also released their own red dot sight for the M17, M18, or their larger platform as a whole. It does come included with an optics mount that you can drop in and mount your SIG Air optic, which I think is super sweet. I love that it has this nice texturing here on the grip itself. It just feels super comfortable, the grip angle, and just the texturing just makes sure that it doesn't slip in your hands when you hold it. And finally, my favorite thing is going to be the fact that they all come with a Picatinny rail, accessory rail on the bottom, so you could seamlessly add lights, lasers, foregrips, whatever your heart desires without any issues. Internally, this is going to be using their own system. So now, one thing that I think is really cool that SIG Air did is that they tried to create the Airsoft replica of the real fire control unit. So the FCU, or fire control unit, is an all-enclosed, all-in-one system that is designed to be easily removed and transferred to different things, which is why we're talking about this as a platform, because in theory, you should be able to easily move this across different grip modules, different chassis if you wanted to, and it should be able to drop and fit no problem. So I think that is really, really sick. One thing that I think is really unique about this system is that the hop-up is actually located on the spring guide rod. So you don't need any tools, you don't need to do anything complicated. If you need to adjust hop-up on the fly, you would just with your hand, you could just turn this guy. It does have a fair bit of resistance to it, so that way it doesn't get knocked around while you're shooting it, but you're able to adjust hop-up on the fly, which is infinitely easier than a lot of the other hop-up units out there that exist for Airsoft replica pistols. Now to answer the million-dollar question, why did we put the P320 in this video, or why are we saying that it's the next and up-and-coming platform when, if you look at airsoftgi.com, there's just not a whole lot out there for this platform yet. I want you to take a look at this. This right here is what started out as a SIG Air P320 X carry that has now been upgraded with an aftermarket slide, aftermarket optic mount, aftermarket barrel. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what is to come with the P320. And the reason why we're saying that this is going to be the next big platform is due in part due to the all-enclosed fire control unit, or the FCU. Like I said earlier, you could literally just, without any tools, you can quickly remove the fire control unit and transfer it over into a different grip module. For example, I could rip out the fire control unit from this X carry and I could replace it into a frame that looks more traditional like the M17, no problem whatsoever, and it can be done very quickly. Now, you could have manufacturers go ahead and make aftermarket frame units that can fit, like I said, into any M17 or P320 fire control unit. You could have one that maybe has a shorter grip, maybe different grip angles, maybe, let's say, a carbine kit perhaps, and then the end user, you can drop in your existing fire control unit into there. Now, talking about the fire control unit itself, that in and of itself is another huge rabbit hole that has limitless potential. So, like I said, this is an all-enclosed unit, which I think a lot of manufacturers in the near future will start to create and make all-in-one upgraded fire control units that you, the end user, can drop into your existing P320 platform. Let's say if you wanted something that can go full auto. Well, potentially a manufacturer can make a full auto capable fire control unit. Or if you wanted to have precision trigger controls, that can be an option as well. Again, it just really saves you a lot of the legwork that you would have to do traditionally with other Airsoft replica pistols. You know, you would have to open up the frame and take out little springs, little parts in there. Instead of that, a manufacturer can just go ahead and just make an upgraded all-in-one unit for you to use, and it's very, very simple to do. Not only is a fire control unit very forward-thinking, but the slide and the blowback housing design is extremely forward-thinking, and this is why we think that the P320 is going to be the platform of the future. The P320 was designed from the ground up to already just natively accept an optic, and this is not the case with other existing Airsoft pistols out there. For example, like the Tokyo Marui Hi-Capa or the G series, those Airsoft pistols were never really intended for an optic to be mounted onto the slide. So a lot of aftermarket companies had to spend a lot of trial and error and development to modify that platform to finagle an optic on top of it. This is not the case with the P320. Now, the final reason why I think that this is going to be the platform of the future is that, well, Airsoft kind of follows in the footsteps of the larger defense industry. As we see, there's lots of law enforcement agencies and military entities that are adopting the M17 or the P320 platform for their duty handguns. And I think a lot of airsofters are gonna want to chase or to kind of mimic that as well. And let's be honest, we're all kind of tired of rocking the same Hi-Capa over and over again. I think a lot of airsofters will begrudgingly admit that the Hi-Capa is kind of being played out. And so having a new platform like the P320, I think is gonna really breathe a breath of fresh air to a lot of airsofters in the community that want to have a very custom Airsoft Replica pistol that isn't super hard to access or to modify. Of course, there's gonna be a lot of people online that will decry the P320 platform and talk about how terrible they are and all the downsides and the cons of running or owning one of these. That's to be expected. It is a very new platform to hit the airsoft market. And this goes without saying for pretty much every single Airsoft Replica that has been released. It's not a perfect system. It's gonna take some time for aftermarket companies to develop and to innovate and to improve the existing system. And we are still very excited to see what the future holds for the P320 platform. And actually at airsoftgi.com, we are going to start carrying a lot more aftermarket components for the P320 to see what people will do with them. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and checking out our list of Airsoft Replica pistols that are mostly not Hi-Capa.
With the exception of like 2 of them. Let us know what your favorite one was. Let us know down in the comments section. Which one would you want to run?
Yeah, and also, with some exciting news like we have, we're gonna be starting to support the P320 platform.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm just so tired of just getting a Hi-Capa over and over again. Dude, I'm just excited.
That is 100%.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm so glad that something else is going to be well supported as well. And I'm pretty stoked about the what was it called? The
MKW, all the Kizuna Works options. No, same, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
more
surprisingly
options
good
for milsims.
Yeah, more options is always more better. But if you guys like the content that you're seeing, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and ring that bell icon to get notified every time we upload a new video.
If you guys want to support the channel directly, make sure to get all your airsoft needs and goodies from airsoftgi.com. It's going to help keep these cameras rolling and these lights going as well.
With all that being said, that's about it from us today. My name is Boaz.
And Isaias.
We'll catch you next time, Mayo Gang.
Take it easy, guys.